Medieval India, page number 191, Relations with Iran and the Question of Qandhar. The dread of Uzbek power was most potent factor which brought the Safavids and the Mughals together. Despite the Uzbek attempt to raise anti-Shia sentiments against Iran and the Mughal dislike of the intolerant policies adopted by the Safavid rulers, the only trouble spot between the two was Qandhar, the possession of which was claimed by both on strategic and economic grounds, as well as for considerations of sentiment and prestige. Qandhar had been part of the Timurid Empire and had been ruled over by Babur's cousin, the rulers of Herat, till they were ousted by the Uzbeks in 1507. Strategically, Qandhar was vital for defense of Kabul. The fort of Qandhar was considered to be one of the strongest forts in the region and was well provided with water. Situated at a junction of roads leading to Kabul and Herat, Qandhar dominated the whole southern Afghanistan and occupied a position of immense strategic importance. A modern writer has observed the Kabul-Ghazni-Kandahar line represented a strategic and logical frontier. Beyond Kabul and Khyber, there was no natural line of defense. Moreover, the possession of Kandahar made it easy to control Afghan and Baloch tribes. After the conquest of Sindh and Balochistan by Akbar, the strategic and economic importance of Kandahar for the Mughals increased. Qandhar was a rich and fertile province and was the hub of the movement of men and goods between India and Central Asia. The trade from Central Asia to Multan via Qandhar and thence down the river Indus to the sea steadily gained an importance because the roads across Iran were frequently disturbed due to wars and internal commotions. Akbar wanted to promote trade on this route and pointed out to Abdullah Uzbek that it was an alternative route for pilgrims and the goods traffic to Mecca. Taking all these factors into account, it would appear that Qandhar was not as important to the Persians as to the Mughals. For Iran, Qandhar was more of an outpost, an important one no doubt, rather than a vital bastion in the defense system. In the early phase, however, the dispute over Qandhar was not allowed to affect good relations between the two countries. Qandhar came under Babur's control in 1522 when the Uzbeks were threatening Khorasan once again. No serious objection to the Mughal conquest of Qandhar was raised by the Persians in view of this situation. However, when Humayun sought shelter at the court of Shah Tahmasp, the Iranian monarch agreed to help him provided he transferred Qandhar to Iran after his conquest from his half-brother Kamran. Humayun had little choice but to agree. But after its conquest, Humayun found excuses to keep it under his control. In fact, Qandhar was his base of operations against Kamran in Kabul. Shah Tahmasp captured Qandhar taking advantage of the confusion following Humayun's death. Akbar made no effort to regain it till Uzbeks under Abdullah Uzbek posed a renewed threat to Iran and to the Mughals. The Mughal conquest of Qandhar 1595 was not a part of agreement between Akbar and Uzbeks to partition the Persian Empire, as some modern historians have argued. It was more to establish a viable defense line in the northwest against possible Uzbek invasion. Since Khorasan had passed under Uzbek control by that time and Qandhar was cut off from Persia. Relations between Iran and the Mughals continued to be cordial despite the Mughal conquest of Qandhar. After Akbar's death, the Persians made an abortive attempt on Gandhar, but Shah Abbas I, ruled 1588 to 1629, who was perhaps the greatest of the Safavid rulers, was keen to maintain good relations with Jahangir. He repudiated the attack on Qandhar, and there was a regular exchange of embassies, costly gifts, including rarities between the two. Shah Abbas also established close diplomatic and commercial relations with the Deccani states, but this was not objected to by Jahangir. Neither side felt threatened, and there is an imaginary portrait by a court artist showing Jahangir and Shah Abbas embracing each other, with a globe of the world beneath their feet. Culturally, too, the two countries came even closer to each other during the period with the help of Noor Jahan. But the alliance proved to be more useful to Shah Abbas than to Jahangir, for it led to latter to neglect cultivating friendship with the Uzbek chiefs, as he felt secure in the friendship of his brother, Shah Abbas. In 1620, Shah Abbas sent a polite request for the restoration of Kandahar and made preparations for attacking it. Jahangir was taken by surprise, for he was diplomatically isolated and militarily unprepared for it. Hasty preparations for the relief of Kandahar were undertaken, but Prince Shah Jahan put forward impossible demands before he would march. As a result, Kandahar passed into the hands of Persians in 1622. Although Shah Abbas tried to erase the bitterness over the loss of Kandahar by sending a lavish embassy to Jahangir and offered facile explanations which were accepted by Jahangir formally, the cordially which had marked the Mughal relations with Iran came to an end, and an era of diplomatic preparations aimed at Iran now began. Far-reaching changes had taken place in Central Asian politics after the death of Abdullah Khan Uzbek in 1598. The Uzbek Empire had disintegrated due to internecine tribal feuds, and Persia had taken advantage of the situation to recover Khorasan. Shah Abbas then turned towards the west and recaptured Baghdad from the Turks. Hence, the earlier idea of alliance of the three Sunni powers, the Uzbek, the Mughals, and the Ottomans, against Iran was received, and a series of embassies were exchanged between Jahangir and the Uzbeks for finalizing an accord. These efforts continued under Shah Jahan after the death of Jahangir. Shah Jahan took recourse to diplomacy. After the death of Shah Abbas in 1629, there were disturbances in Iran. Taking advantage of this, and after being free of the Deccan affairs, Shah Jahan induced Ali Mardan Khan, the Persian governor of Kandahar, to defect to the side of the Mughals in 1638. Thank you everyone for tuning in. In the next part, we'll start with Shah Jahan's Balkh campaign or Balkh campaign. Thank you for tuning in. All the best for exams. Do share and subscribe the channel and keep supporting us. Thank you.